Hello, hello, hello to my empowered friends. Thank you guys for taking time to log on, whether you're watching the replay or you're watching live. I am Ms. Empower, and I want to welcome you to a place for healthy conversations. I always like to start off with the serenity prayer. Okay. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. So thank you for logging on with me tonight. I'm just going to give maybe about a minute for a few more people to log on. I really don't know how many people will be logging on with me tonight. For those that are not here in St. Louis, we had a really big flood this morning, and there are a lot of people without power. A lot of people are not in their homes. A lot of people don't have their transportation. The flood was so bad that the cars were completely covered with water, and they had to go in with boats to, allow people to come out of their homes, and get them to a dry space. So that is what's happening in St. Louis today. But I'm going to keep going on today. I was not affected in that way. It has happened to me before. It's been some years ago now. But this time I didn't get affected by it. So we're going to move on. So we have been talking about manipulation. So we have been talking about what it means, talking about the different stages, the signs, just different things in dealing with manipulation. I chose this topic some weeks back because I felt like it was something that was really important to talk about. There are so many people who are being affected by manipulation in their relationships, and I wanted to try to help walk some people through the process. And sometimes people don't realize what it is that they are actually going through until somebody actually tells them. A lot of times, you're going through something in your relationship, but you just really can't put a finger on it. You just know you don't feel the way you used to feel in the beginning of the relationship. And things are just not right. And so I said, let me jump in with this topic because that's what we do here at a place for healthy conversations. We talk about very different topics that will help you become more healthy mentally, physically, and spiritually. So this topic is something that was near and dear to me because I experienced it not so long ago. And so it's still fresh for me. And I had to go through some different things to heal in that process after it was over. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. This topic is so many people that are dealing with it right now and not knowing how to deal with it. So our first part, we talked about the definition of manipulation, and it's when one person does something to control the other person. So in a relationship, one partner is doing things to mentally drain their partner, right? So that they can get what they want. And they don't have any empathy towards their partner. They could care less on how they feel. It's just about what they want to get out of it. We talked about Also, in the first part, we talked about the different stages, which are four different stages. The first stage being the targeting stage. You know, if you really think about it, somebody that's targeting someone, they're going to look for someone who's vulnerable, who's going through something in their life at that moment, you know, so they can have a way in to show them, oh, I'm your friend. I am trustworthy. You know, I am honest. Like, you can trust anything that I say. I got your back, you know, all of that. They're going to do everything to get you set up for the next stage, which is the friend forming stage, where they have you just completely trusting them, that you will tell them anything about you, you know, and it could be something you never shared with anyone else, but you chose to share it with them because you trusted them, because they made you feel like you were special to them. The third stage being the loving relationship stage. You know, I really don't understand why it's called that, because you don't receive any love. They, everything that they did in the targeting and friend forming stage, they are no longer doing that in the loving relationship stage. They are now distant from you. They are now pulling themselves back so that they can do whatever it is that they would like to do to you, because they've gotten you totally codependent on them. So now you feel like you don't have anyone else, because in the friend forming stage, you probably shared what you were going through in your friendships, in your relationships with your family, and they use that against you. And now you feel isolated. And that's not in every case, because some people um, still are close to their family. They still are close to their friends. But that is a tactic that they use to try to isolate you so that they can have total control over you. And you can just do whatever it is that they want you to do. So that is what happens when you're in the loving relationship stage. So it's no love, it's actually the opposite of that. And they're preparing you for the abusive stage. And in that stage, you are emotionally abused, which actually starts in the loving relationship stage. You know, they are preparing you for what they are going to put you through. So the moment that you realize that this is what you're dealing with, you have to let yourself know. You have to admit, hey, I'm going through this. I can't believe that I'm going through this, but I am. And so, you know, you're going to have to take the next steps. Don't allow yourself to be in something like that, because you don't deserve it. So, we're going to talk more about that tonight. Um, we talked about the signs, just different things that you can look for, you know, in someone who is trying to manipulate you. So we talked about the gaslighting. We talked about the love bombing. You know, everybody's familiar with the gaslighting. That um, tactic is used to make you become confused and make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're really not feeling what it is that you're feeling, when you really are. Whatever it is that you're seeing it. You know, you're just trying to convince yourself that you're not, because you don't want to go through that. You don't want to believe that it's you that's going through it. So we talked about the different signs, which, like I said, it was the gaslighting, the love bombing, so many other things. So you can click on the link, which was part 2, and hear the different signs if you missed that one. In part 3, we talked about what to look for in a relationship when it comes down to manipulation. And that's some of the stuff that I just talked about, which was the different stages. And if you missed that one, that was not last week, the week before last. And you can go back and click on that link and watch that one as well. So tonight, whoa, guys, we're getting close to being at the end, and I really need suggestions for the next topic that you would like for me to talk about. If it's a topic that I have talked about previously and you would like for me to discuss it again and go deeper, we can do that. I always like to talk about what I think my audience wants to hear, what is helping you, because that's my sole purpose in doing what I do is to help my audience. So tonight we're talking about the causes, we're talking about the why, why and what causes people to become manipulators in a relationship. Why are they manipulators? First of all, for those of you that are going through it, let me tell you this: it has nothing to do with you. It is nothing to do with you. You are just the victim in the middle of what this person wants to do. It's all about what they want. It has nothing to do with you. You didn't do anything. Let me just say that. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time when you met that person. How about that? Okay. So we're going to talk about the why, the causes, what causes them to do that. And we're also going to talk about how to respond tonight as well. So let's jump into that. I want to say hello to everyone who is logged on with me right now. Okay. So make sure that you log on with me next week because we're going to talk about the final part 5, and that is moving forward. And that will close us out for manipulation. So why do people become manipulators? Okay, first off, they want whatever it is that they are there for, whatever it is that they're after. They want to get what they want. And they'll go and do anything to get it. It's a lot of times also to protect their ego. So many people have this big ego, and they feel like if they treat a person a certain way, or if they can make a person feel a certain way, it feeds their ego. It makes them feel good about themselves. Isn't that something? That in order for you to feel good about yourself, you have to tear somebody else down. You have to try to tear down their self-esteem. You have to try just to make them feel like less than a person, a human being. In order for you to feel good about yourself, there are many people out here that are like that. The third thing is they do it to avoid trying to take accountability, take responsibility. They'll manipulate a situation and make you feel like you're the cause. You can be a positive person, but they'll tell you you're a negative person. Whatever it is they can think about doing and saying to drain you emotionally, they'll do that. They also feel the need to do these 3 actions, and that is, the first one is to punish you. So a lot of times their punishment is they won't talk to you. They think that if they're not talking to you, that's punishing you. If they're not spending time with you, that's punishing you. So whatever it is, they know how you think and they know how you tick. So they already know what it takes to make you upset or feel a certain way, so they'll do that. They'll punish you. Maybe they were that person that always complimented you, but now they no longer compliment you because that's a punishment now. It's not that they're not attracted to you. It's just that they want you to feel bad mentally, emotionally. They don't want to be there for you emotionally. It is their job to tear you down emotionally, mentally, which turns to physically. Their other action is having complete control, like control of everything that you do, the way you think, the way you you're going in the future. They want to be in control of that. Have to really pay attention, close attention, when a person starts trying to control your moods, your thoughts. You know, if you came into that relationship knowing who you are and where you're going and what you want to be, and this person comes in and tries to tell you, no, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, you know, that's a red flag. Pay attention, close attention to that, especially if you guys talked about this prior to any big commitment with one another, meaning marriage or engagement. You know, you talked about where you were going and they were on board with it. They were backing you. You know, you were excited about what they wanted to do as well. But then, as time went on, no, they want to be in control of that. And thirdly, dominating your partner, which to me is all the same. You know, controlling, punishing. You know, you're dominating everything that I want to do and be. You're dominating me as a person. Pay close attention to that. It's so important. They seek pity. So they'll manipulate any conversation, any situation, so that you will feel sorry for them. It didn't matter how they just talked to you or how they just mistreated you, but it's all about you feeling bad for them. They'll bring up stuff from their past, you know, things they've been through as a kid coming up, you know, and it comes out of nowhere. It has nothing to do with anything that you were even talking about most of the time. But it's for you to have pity and want to be there for them because they know you're empathetic. See, they go after people who are empathetic, people that have empathy for other people, and they will definitely go for you because they know you're going to feel bad about what they've been through. So, attention. They seek attention. You know, they probably didn't start out acting like that. It was kind of like they probably just pretended like everything was all about you know, and your happiness, and just everything just revolved around you. But now it's not that. Now that they've gotten you more than likely into that loving relationship, all of that changed. There's no longer any of that. It is all about the attention going on to them. And they'll even go as far as trying to get your family on their side and having them thinking that you're doing something wrong. So that is another part of all the attention being on them. And to the point that if you ever probably went to your family and said, hey, this is what I'm going through, they'll probably be like, but I remember them saying that they are this way or they act that way. They're going to remember that. And that's not with all family. I trust and believe that. You know, most families, they're going to have their family members back. But then there are some that are different, especially if that person is giving them money, doing things for them, you know. So you have to look at that type of stuff. So if you're that family member that is so quick to listen to what somebody else has to say about your family member, pay close attention to that, because that's a red flag when somebody's partner is coming to you and talking very badly about this person, unless you know them to be that way. But if they come to you and say they're in an abusive relationship, please don't turn them away because they need you. They have very selfish motives. Like I said before, all the attention is on them. and everything that they're doing is for their benefit. It has nothing to do with you. It's definitely for their benefit. Um, Nothing will ever be about you because everything will be all about them because they are selfish. Um, they will do anything possible to wear you down emotionally. And let me say this, a lot of them come from dysfunctional families. So maybe they had a parent that was manipulative and they watched, they experienced, they observed. And so they see that this is the way to get what they want. And so this is what they've done. And so they did this probably in their childhood also. Maybe they had to do that to fend for themselves. You know, sometimes people are growing up in certain situations where they do have to fend for themselves. And so, in order to get certain things, they have to manipulate the situation to get it. And so, when that becomes what they do all the time, that is just who they are. It is. Um, because they may have just been emotionally manipulated by their parents. And I hear so many people, I've talked to so many adults that talked about going through that as a child, you know, receiving that type of treatment from their parent, you know, and it just drained them. So that's a trigger for them, you know, as an adult. When it happens to them, it's like, okay, I've been through this before and I know this is not right. And I don't want any parts of this. But then those people that have never experienced it before are like in awe, like, I don't understand. Like, did I do something? Did I do something wrong? They're quick to blame themselves, you know, and really take a moment to think about, did I say something wrong? Did I brush up against them when I walked past them? You know, was my tone different when I was just talking to, you know, then you start to blame yourself. And that's what you don't want to do. I may have jumped ahead. Um, so you often find these type of behaviors in people that have borderline personality disorder, and that is somebody who's unstable in their mood. So they're hot or they're cold. You know, it's no in between. It's just they go from hot to cold with you. One minute they were hot, you know, now they cold. And it's just back and forth and it's crazy because you're confused. Like, hold on. Wasn't they just talking to me crazy? Now all of a sudden they nice to me? Like, okay, that's crazy. Makes no sense to me. Um, that's a big red flag right there. If you are experiencing that with them. Um, Narcissistic personality disorder is another one. I know we hear a lot about narcissism and narcissistic people, you know, and that's somebody who is very self-centered. They are driven by being self-centered. They have lack of empathy, so they could care less when you are hurt. Um, they are there are aggravated sense of like self-importance, like everything is about them. They are important. You are not. So whether what they say or do hurts you or not, it doesn't matter to them. It makes no difference. So let's kind of jump into how to respond. So first of all, I would say you want to admit that this is what you're experiencing, because a lot of times, as I said earlier in the video, we don't want to admit that this is something that we're experiencing, like this is something that we're in the midst of, because we never thought that we would be. But I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to beat up on yourself about it. Just admit that this is what it is, because when you do that, when you beat up on yourself about it and you don't admit that this is what you're in the midst of, you may stay. And I would say gain the courage and step out of it, because to me, I could say it depends on if it's turned into physical abuse. You don't want to stay for physical abuse. Once you know that you're being emotionally abused, you know that this person does not care about you. They care about themselves and they don't care about you. So, one thing I would say, if you brought it to their attention of how they're making you feel, although they already know how they're making you feel, um, suggest counseling. And if you don't see a difference, because I'm telling you, what will happen is they may pretend like they're changing. And I can't speak on everybody, but a lot of times this is what happens. They'll pretend like they're changing and they'll give it a little while, right? And then they'll go back to what they were doing before. Because the fact that you stay is telling them that you accept how they treat you. Even though you just had a whole counseling sessions, you had a whole bunch of counseling sessions discussing this. So, especially for somebody that has been that way all their life, it's not to say you can't change. But do you want to change? That's the question. Do you want to change as a manipulative person? Do you want to stop mistreating people and just using them to feel important? That's the question for somebody who's manipulative and finds joy in doing what they do. So the other thing I would say, after admitting, I talked about seeking counseling. If you decide you're going to try to work through it, you can do counseling. That's an option. If it's an option for them, because a lot of times they may not want to do counseling and they may manipulate the situation for you guys not to go into counseling. They will turn it around and say it's not them, because they don't like to take accountability for their actions. So they'll turn it around and make it seem like it's you. And it's just something that you need to change and you need to do. So pay attention to that. That's a red flag. Make sure that you set healthy boundaries. And I want to do a segment on boundaries, because people are quick to use the fact that you're vulnerable and come into a relationship or friendship and use that against you and walk all over your boundaries like they are nothing, and talk about that they don't like boundaries. Well, if I have boundaries and you don't like boundaries, then maybe we're not for each other. How you doing, sis? Appreciate you. Hope you're feeling well. So pay attention to that. If they don't want boundaries, they may not be the person for you. Find somebody else who is willing to accept those boundaries. Because I think that what we do is, when we're looking for that perfect, and there's no perfect relationship, but when we're looking for that relationship, we often sometimes hold back because we want to make sure that this person is going to like us. But the thing is, they need to like you for who you are. And you should never be dishonest about who you are and what it is that you want. So if you have boundaries, like, I don't want you looking at other women, or I don't want you out there with other women cheating. You have boundaries, put them boundaries in place and let them know what those boundaries are, and have some healthy boundaries. Sit down and really think about, what is it that I want? What is it that I will accept and what is it that I won't accept? Take the time to do that for you, because you're worth it. For an example, let's talk about it, because I didn't realize I had wrote down an example. So let's say this person, every time you have the opportunity to talk, they interrupt you and they never let you talk. You never get anything out because they control the conversation. You let them know that if you keep interrupting me, I'm going to stop talking and we're not going to have this conversation. You have to put a consequence behind your boundary. You know, you can't just accept someone trying to walk all over you, not respecting you, you know, not being honest with you, you know, not being trustworthy, period. You know, we have to start looking at what it is that we want and stop just accepting things just because you think that it might not be another opportunity, may not be another person. That's not true. You'll meet the right one. I say if you're out there doing things that you like, um, you're eventually going to meet someone that's out there probably doing what you like. You know, you're going to engage in a conversation, you know, and you're going to possibly meet someone that has some of the same core values that you have, because we always have to remember that you want to make sure that you're compatible. It's not about um, what's on the surface, and that is that they're fine. They have a beautiful smile. You know, you like the way they walk, you know, you like the way they wear their hair, whatever it is, that surface stuff, they open the door for me. That surface, we have to go deep. It's time to go deep, guys. If it's not working for you, go deep. Stop being on the surface with everything. You know, I feel like things that people let you see is on the surface. What about those things they don't let you see? Um, so have those healthy boundaries for yourself. And sometimes people just never been in a relationship that had boundaries before. And so you just teach them, you know, hey, these are my boundaries, you know, and maybe he never did it before or she never did it before. And, you know, you take that time to sit down and have that conversation. That's why it's good to have conversations. It's good to talk about where are we going from here. Like, what is it that you are, what's your end result? What is it that you want? Let's be honest about that. I remember there was a time that I wouldn't share exactly what I was looking for in a mate because I didn't want that person to just start being that because I said that that's what I wanted, but that's not really who they are. So eventually they're going to change, right? But then there are people who will be that target. They'll be in that target stage and they will get to know you so deep. I mean, seriously, to the point they know without you telling them, they can tell, you know, what it is that you're wanting. And they start trying to be that until they're not that anymore. And you're like, okay, what is going on here? So you just have, you know, gotta be careful, guys. It's a lot. We're gonna have plenty of conversations. So the last one is show yourself compassion, which means don't feel guilty, don't bash yourself. I talked about that earlier, you know, because a lot of times when a person has been one way with you and it was great, and down the road they start changing and being something different, and you are like, did I? You know, and it could just happen overnight. You're like, did I say something? Did I kick them? You know, did I shove them out the bed? You know, you're questioning yourself. Did I say something before we went to bed? Was I talking in my sleep last night? You know, you just start questioning yourself, what it is that you possibly did. And we have to get out of that. We have to stop always blaming ourselves. Now, if you know you did something, that's different. But this is when you know that you did. So yes, that is the fourth part of, let me look at the time. We're a little early tonight. That's the fourth part of Um, let's talk about manipulation. For those of you, because I always speak to you, those of you that have been through it, or that are going through it right now, um, I suggest meditation. You know, you have to find some peace within yourself in order to survive and not be so broke down emotionally and mentally, because that goes into your physical health as well. So I have a meditation video that walks you through the process. I also have a meditation video that talks to you about meditation and how important it is. Um, that was one of the things that I used to heal in my process after ending a relationship that I was in, where I was with someone who was a manipulator. And so that's how I was able to get myself back in a really great mental and emotional space. And that was the meditation. And the water has been wonderful for me. If I can go somewhere and sit near some water and just think through my thoughts and just meditate, it's a lot for me. It's great. um, and it helps to learn how to take time and be quiet, because sometimes just need to be um, with our thoughts, and we just need to be quiet and let God talk to you. Because for me, prayer was at the top of um, the list of things for me to do. Like, that was the first thing that I started, was praying, and he led me into meditation. I had never ever been able to meditate before. I would go to sleep when trying to meditate, but the key for me was to focus on what I needed to say to myself that was positive and keep repeating it to myself, and then as time goes on, things change. Maybe you decide to have a scripture that you meditate on, but find what it is for you. Um, it has allowed me to grow so much more in my spiritual life. I have learned to go to that word and find whatever it is that I'm needing for that moment to get through whatever it is that I'm feeling. Because you feel a whole lot of things when you get out of it. You feel a lot while you're in it, but when you get out of it, you're trying to release these things that were just forced up on you. So that's what I have to say to my people that are going through it. And just know that you're a survivor, and you can make it through, and you'll be amazed at who you become afterwards. Because I kept saying to God, it was like, it has to be a reason that I am going through this. Because at first I was like, why me? Why am I going through this? This makes no sense that I am going through this. And he said, why not you? Why are you different? Why is it that you don't have to experience things? If you experience it, you can help somebody else with it. And that's my life. I told God 6 years ago that he could use me for whatever. And that's where Ms. Empower came from. It came from me saying yes to God, that I would do whatever it is that he needed. So I'm out here trying to help my people become healthy, and know that we can do all things through Christ, and just know that you have the power. We always want to know where the power is, how to get it, but we actually have it. We actually have it. You have it. You just have to access it. So you have to take the time to get quiet. So, with that being said, guys, I have enjoyed talking to you guys tonight about the causes and the why, of manipulation in a relationship, and how to respond. so next week, we're going to talk about how to move forward because it's important that you move forward. So, with that being said, guys, this has been a place for healthy conversation. And I am Ms. Empower, and I look forward to talking with you guys on next week. Have a great rest of your week.